I pulled up a second
Yeah.
question here that I think is really a good segue here, and we'll get back to the one we skipped. Surprise is not more, kind of discussion about player types, and this question is basically just addressing how when you play lower stakes, you see all kinds of different player types, and if one player is opening, twice as many hands as another, shouldn't we adjust our strategy? And the answer is absolutely. And what's important to consider is the way I like to think about it is, let's say I'm in the small blind and a good regular opens the button. And I think they're opening whatever percentage of hands, maybe 50% of hands or whatever. I have a strategy that I'm going to play against that. And it's mostly based on, GTO strategy. Now, if a different person is on the button and they're opening 80% of hands and playing almost everything, I know that the strategy that I usually use is a fine strategy. It's a solid strategy. However, I also know that if I expand my range, because they're playing more hands, I'm going to be able to make slightly more money. Because if a hand like ace 10 offsuit is a close fold versus, or a close spot versus on the tighter side button range, then hands like ace 10 and ace 9 go way up in value against the guy who's playing almost everything. So there's more EV to be gained by playing those hands. So it's definitely important to consider these player types that you're playing, but this is just room to exploit and make additional money on top of whatever your basic baseline strategy would make. So yes, it's important to adjust. Do you have to adjust? You don't have to, but you won't make as much money. I think that's the big distinction, that when you talk about game theory and GTO a lot, like, people think this is my strategy and this is the strategy I use in every situation, always, regardless, because it's that game theory optimal strategy. And you can do that, but again, you just won't make as much as if you are adjusting and kind of exploiting more with someone who's playing way too many hands or way too few hands. So playing way too few hands, I don't care if game theory says pocket jacks, I should be trying to get all my money in here. Maybe it's just too tight against the guy who hasn't played a hand in 7 hours and I know he has aces here. I'll change my strategy then.
So I'm going to ask a bit of a follow-up question on this. What would you be looking for in terms of both frequency and amount of data before you would start making significant adjustments into how you would play against a specific player?
So there's certain things that you can see. They're going to give you really big insight. Okay. If someone opens the cutoff and shows down a hand like queen 5 offsuit, that's such a wide, that's not even close to being, an appropriate playable hand from the cutoff, where I now know that this guy is way out of line and probably has no sense of what in line should be for most positions. And I can kind of extrapolate from that, right? Now, let's say maybe somebody opens the cutoff and they show down like ace 5 offsuit. And I'm like, it's a little wide. Maybe I wouldn't open that, but that doesn't give me as much information, but it might make me start kind of keep my eye on this person. And as far as how I adjust, well, like I said, I usually just take the range that I have already, that I know is like my standard range for a situation. And if I know someone is a little too wide, I'll just simply do that in my range, just simply open it up just a little bit, instead of using, king jack is a 3-bet. Maybe I use king 10 as a 3-bet and I call the king jack and I just kind of bump everything down 1 pip. If someone's really wide, maybe I bump it down 2 pips. I just make these small adjustments to either open or tighten my range a little bit. Same thing if someone goes all in for 10 big blinds in a tournament and I have a hand like, usually maybe I would call here with pocket 6s or better. And I know this guy's extra tight. Maybe 6s I'll fold and I'll start calling 7s. But I know this guy's a little on the wide side, I'll start calling 5s then maybe. I make these small adjustments. I don't make crazy big adjustments. That's the best way to exploit, is just keep making small adjustments until you start, as you're gathering more information, and go from there.
Yeah, I agree. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they'll overreact to a single data point. Sometimes a single data point can be really important when, like you said, it's just so far outside of the realm of what should be happening that you can take a lot of information away from it. But most of the time, it's just small adjustments over time.